Welcome to Cash Alternative TV. My name is Tao Satoshi, also known as Christopher Carruthers, and today we're going to talk about the Dash platform. I have two members of Dash Core Group here with me. I have Dash Product Manager Dana Alibrandi. Welcome to the show, Dana.
Hi.
And I have Dash Core Group core developer Ivan Shumkov. Welcome to the show, Ivan.
Thanks. Hi.
Okay, I'm going to get the elephant out of the room first. I'm going to address the elephant in the room, which is my eyeliner that I have on today. Today is Halloween in Canada, and I went to a Halloween party last night, and I was a pirate. So today I still have the eyeliner on. I wasn't able to take all of it off. So today I'm going to be officially known as Pirate Tao.
Nice, so, never change.
Right. So we're going to get into some questions about the Dash platform. I have compiled some myself and some that I've gotten from Reddit. And we're going to have a little discussion, go into some more detail about Dash platform in case any of my viewers might be still curious about it. So first of all, can you give yourselves a quick introduction? I'll start with Dana. What's your role at Dash Core Group, and how did you get into Dash in the first place?
Sure. So I'm product manager for Dash Platform. So I work with Ivan and other members of the Dash Platform team to define the scope of what we're working on, prioritize the backlog, and also work with other teams within Dash Core Group, particularly marketing and business development, to try to get those teams to understand the value of the platform and how we can communicate that to potential launch partners, future developers, etc. And I got into Dash. I've been in Dash Core Group for about 1.5 years now, and I had gotten into Dash a little bit before that. I saw Amanda B. Johnson give a presentation at UCLA during a blockchain cryptocurrency conference, and I was like, "Oh, this is very interesting." Then I dug into it a little deeper, and they started hiring a product manager. I applied, and the rest is history.
Okay. It's funny how you hear so many people that have gotten involved with Dash due to the teachings of Amanda B. Johnson. I keep trying to tell her, this is the best calling you have, being on videos, getting the word out. I keep working on her all the time. I want her to join me here in Cash Alternative TV, and it almost happened once, but it hasn't happened yet. So I really hope she comes back to work on that. So how about you, Ivan? What's your role at Dash Core Group, and how did you get into Dash?
I'm a software engineer in the platform team. Mostly busy with architecture and development. And I joined Dash 2 years ago as a Drive developer. At that point, we had two teams, DAPI and Drive. So a bit later, Andy engaged me in protocol design, platform protocol design, and so on. So, and at the beginning of this year, DAPI and Drive team were merged. So, yeah, now I'm a platform developer, and that's it.
All right, so you're working on the fun stuff behind the scenes that's going to make Dash tick. Like to the end user, all you see is fancy gadgets and everything. You just press send and it works and everything else, but you get to go up behind the scenes and see what's going on. So we're definitely going to be leaning on your expertise as this show goes on. So why don't we get into the questions? Whoever feels like they're more qualified to handle it can handle each question. I'll just throw them out there. So the first question is, some in the community are getting a bit anxious for the next version to be announced. Hold on a sec. While watching some kind of like feature creep get into our latest releases. So is the scope of the next version now finalized?
Yes, I can take this one, and feel free to jump in as well, Ivan. The scope of the next release is finalized. We're calling it EvoNet Phase 0. And that scope, or the scope of that release, is going to include the platform, like a basic subset of the functionality that will deliver to mainnet eventually. It will include EvoNet, which is a public testing environment to connect to the platform. And it will also include the Dash Network Deploy tool, which is a tool that will allow you to deploy your own instance of the platform for playing around and experimentation. The core value that the platform will provide during that release are identities and names. So you'll be able to register an identity and also create a name and see how those components interact with each other.
Okay. Anything you have to add to that, Ivan?
Yeah. So basically, evolution split it in several phases. And yeah, and the first phase is, as Dana said, is like basic functionality of a platform and test net. For evolution, we call it EvaNet, and deployment tool, which help you to spin up own DevNet and test all features of platform. Because EvaNet will be kind of restricted a bit, so you won't be able to create contracts except Dash Pay and DPNS. And there are several more restrictions about our regarding flood protection. So if you want to test on contract and play this platform, it will be easier to, it makes sense to deploy on testnet.
Okay.
On DevNet, yeah.
Sounds good. There's some people out there that are confused about what? What's funny?
No, please go on.
Okay. There's some people out there that are confused about the scope of what Dash platform will be. This is a question from Reddit. It's from BF Wookie 80. He says, will Dash platform be able to run smart contracts like Ethereum as in unstoppable code? From what I understand about it at this point, it does not support smart contracts and instead more like a suite of web services exposed to the DAPI. You can store content in Dash Drive as well as identity service for access rights and a way to transfer value. But would we still need to run some service elsewhere off-chain to perform all the application logic for a DApp? This
is a great question. Yes, you will need to run your application elsewhere off of the Dash network. At this point, we will not support smart contracts, although it is something that we have discussed. But the implications of supporting smart contracts are, pretty heavy resource use on the masternodes. So we would definitely want to engage the community before we moved forward on implementing something like smart contracts. Although for Dash to be, a major payment processing tool, I do think that smart contracts is the direction that we should move in at some point. But for the first release and for sometime after the initial mainnet release of the platform, we won't have smart contracts. And I'm sure Ivan can add to that as well.
Sure.
Yeah. Usually then you develop decentralized application. If you're a smart developer, you don't put the whole application logic in the smart contracts because they are kind of expensive and slow, right? And basically you have smart contracts only for critical parts of your application where this consensus logic makes sense. But the rest of your business logic usually hosts on your own servers, or it's part of your web application which works in the browser. So yeah, to host the whole logic on chain or as a smart contract or something like that doesn't make any sense.
It also contributes to our platform, to Dash platform, being easier to use. It will be cheaper. There'll be a faster onboarding time for developers, all because that complex logic isn't going to be running on the masternodes. We're just taking the most important part of an application, which is typically the data, and storing that on the platform.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Comparing with smart contracts, the approach what we are using, data contract, is kind of different. You can't describe your consensus logic using data models of your application. So you can describe entities what you use in your application. I don't know, in case of blog post, you describe the post, you describe this is the post, this is the comments, and how this data must be validated and relations between this data. So it's kind of consensus rules. And Yeah, and if you need some custom logic, you can use later something like data triggers.
You want to go more into detail about that?
I don't know. I'm not sure that Dana allowed me to do that.
No? Oh, okay.
Just a brief note about it is that it's a feature that we're looking into implementing after we go to mainnet, and it will allow. It's similar to functionality that Firebase offers, where based on receiving certain data into your application or storing certain data on the platform, it will trigger some other sort of action, and it's kind of like smart contract light functionality.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it's kind of smart contracts. So we can write these data triggers with code, or like theory complete. But the purpose of this code is to validate your data and say yes, it's valid or not. So this type of smart contracts don't create new documents or new assets like smart contracts and so on. So they're specifically for creating custom consensus rules. And yeah, I think it will be the first step in this direction. I mean, if you're talking about smart contracts.
Okay, so the functionality could be there later on, like the masternode network could handle it with increased software and hardware, right? But just not at that stage right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I just figured out why you were laughing at me earlier. It must be my eyeliner, right? you're laughing at Pirate Tau.
He's just jealous.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Can you go a little bit more into how decentralized identities work? How did they get separated with users on the Dash platform name service and identities on the sidechain?
I think this would be a good question for Ivan.
Okay.
Okay, so decentralized identities. I think it's a question for you, but let's talk about identities first.
Yeah.
So yeah, our previous concept of blockchain users was that we're storing usernames and identities. Identities actually is kind of public key on chain, right? Basically, and together. So now we decoupled these two concepts, so we can create identities for any purpose you need. For example, for user you need identity. For data contract you need identity, like data contract identity. Probably for other protocol entities in the future, or maybe you have own entities, like you as third-party developer in your system, you have some entities and you need identities. You want to sign something, assign ID, and then allow people to verify this information, this data belongs to this identity. So it's kind of primitive building block what we're going to use in the future. And DPNS is basically the same concept what we had with blockchain usernames, but it's more extended. It's not just a username now, it's more like domain system, name system, where you can create hierarchical tree of domains and subdomains, and the special rules, and each domain can resolve not just like identity, but the other information like IP address or email or I don't know, like drive address in the future. So basically everything.
Okay, so how does the Dash platform name service and the sidechain like interact with each other and complement each other when it comes to names and identities?
Oh, okay, so DPNS built this platform.
Ivan's cutting out a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
I hope we don't lose him.
Guys,
Oh, yeah, he's back.
I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
So sorry about yeah. So basically, DPNS is a data contract, and it works. It runs with the platform. So you create identity on a platform chain, and then you register name for this identity in this data contract. So basically, you just create document using this data contract and send it to the DAPI. So it's the same way how you will use other data contracts.
Okay. So the first thing when somebody comes to the DAPI is going to be registering a name. Is that right?
Registering an identity.
Registering identity. Okay. So this is what I'm trying to get my head around. So you register an identity, and then when in the process do you register a name?
Well, once your identity is registered, you will be able to associate that to a name within Dash Platform Name Service. So yeah, we'll have some sort of process. It'll be documented in our developer portal that we're releasing alongside EvoNet that will walk a user through creating that username. And for like an average consumer, they would create a username through the onboarding process of an application that is integrated with the platform. And one of the first pathways for someone to do that will be the DashPay wallet that will be released sometime early next year.
Okay, sounds good.
Can I actually go back really briefly to the decentralized identity question?
Of course, the more information, the better.
Yeah. So Ivan provided a lot of really awesome technical perspective on how it's decoupled and why we did that. And I just wanted to speak a little bit to the future implications of decentralized identity. Yeah, so why we decoupled it, well, I mean, part of that has to do with wanting to give other entities like applications and organizations their own type of identity. But by decoupling it, we're following an industry-wide paradigm of how we should approach identity. And the whole idea behind it is that we should separate an identity from its attributes. So an identity, an analogy could be your identity is like your DNA, and an attribute of that identity might be my hair color, my facial structure, or my name. So what this means for decentralized identity in the future is that we will be able to provide functionality like login with Dash, and it will take an attribute of your identity, which might be like profile information, and it will allow developers and applications to onboard users more quickly using that profile information.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of like login with Facebook, right? Oh, do you want to create your profile based off of your Facebook profile? Oh, yes, I do. And then that speeds up the time.
Okay, yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, and even more, you can provide the special attributes for the special people. For example, Dana don't want to share the color of his beautiful hairs is everybody, just as me. So he can encrypt it and allow to read this data only to me and to my application.
Perfect. All right, so next question. With decentralized storage, is each masternode going to have all information for platform, or is it going to be sharded?
Right now sharding is not an implication for us because comparing with Ethereum, which runs the smart contracts and keep state on all nodes, I mean full nodes. In our case, it's just master nodes, which is pretty limited number, right? And they are will be incentivized to store this data and upgrade the hardware. So the sharding is not our primary goal right now. We're definitely gonna solve this problem in the next releases. We have idea how to do that, and we will provide our documentation that after EvoNet release.
Okay.
But implementation of sharding will be next step.
Okay.
After evolution.
And that leads to a follow-up question about the same decentralized storage. Is the encryption in Dash platform going to be the same as regular blockchain encryption? And the second part of that is what will happen when a masternode goes offline and takes the information with it? Is that not a security risk?
so you can encrypt your data by your own on the application level. So, for example, you can specify some field in your document in data contract as encrypted, and encrypt with some keys and provide these keys to people who you want to read this. So built-in protocol level encryption is not the goal right now, but probably we will provide some simple primitive that you can say, for example, in your data contract, okay, I want this in these fields should be encrypted with these keys. Regarding if masternode goes offline, as we discussed previously, right now we store the whole data set on each masternode. So if one of them goes offline, it's not a problem. In case of sharding, vector, so you don't store only the piece of data.
Ivan, you broke up a little bit during explaining about sharding. Can you continue from where you left off about sharding?
Yeah, sure.
That's okay.
So in case of sharding, we'll have some replication factor which ensure the data redundancy. So it kind of says that this piece of data will be stored on this number of masternodes. So you have this number of copies, and we will guarantee that this number will be kind of consistent. So if one of masternodes which stores the copy of this data goes offline, we just replicate one more time this data to another masternode.
Okay, so I understand that part, but what I'm getting at is, like, say if I was a bad actor and I wanted to take information from Dash platform and sell it or something like that. Like, if I go offline, I take all that information with me. Is that not a security risk?
I can jump in on that one, Ivan. So
yeah, sure.
Regarding the first release of the platform, like Ivan mentioned, we won't be offering protocol level encryption. So AKA the platform will not provide encryption, by default or as an option for developers. If you want to encrypt your data, you have to do that within your application on the client side. So if you don't encrypt your data, all of that data is going to be public and available. Anybody can view that data. So the use cases for integrating your data on the platform are typically around applications where data can be public and it doesn't really matter. If you have something that's sensitive, either encrypt it or don't store it on the platform. And then there won't be any security risk.
Okay, perfect. That answers my question there. Let me see what we got next. Okay, what would happen in the hypothetical situation of an accessed masternode going down in the middle of a DAPI session?
Interesting. What is a DAPI session?
Well, like, say if I'm a developer and I come to the DAPI and I'm trying to put it in an application and I connect to a masternode, or is it a quorum? Like, you could explain better about that. So if it's a quorum, that makes sense that the DAPI wouldn't get interrupted. But if I'm connecting to a single masternode and that masternode just happens to go offline while I'm trying to do something, what would happen in that instance?
Oh, okay. So on the client side, you will listen for updates of your data, what you're trying to create, for example, from the several nodes. And if you don't have evidence that your data is available in some period of time, the client, like SDK, will try to use another masternode to store your data. So it will be solved. It's kind of retry logic will be implemented on the client side in a DAPI client.
So it should be seamless when I'm trying to access something. So if a master node does happen to go offline, it will just automatically redirect me to another node. Is that how it works?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So for you as a developer, if you use DAPI client, it's gonna be seamlessly. Absolutely.
Perfect. Let's talk a bit about data contracts. Can you explain a little bit more how data contracts will work with a new developer keen on establishing an application on Dash platform?
Yeah, I think Dana wants to answer.
He's like, Ivan's like, I don't want to talk anymore. Dana, it's your thing.
Yeah, so the data contract is the first, well, besides registering an identity, it'll be the first entry point or point of contact between a developer and the platform. And a data contract is a blueprint for the data that you want to store and secure on the platform. And for any developers that are listening, it's very similar to a database schema. It's essentially the same concept. And yeah. So you would define, like, say we had like a profile similar to Facebook, and I wanted to store like a name. I wanted to store like a description, maybe my hometown, and then I would also, so I would, list those attributes within the data contract. I would describe what type of data it is. So for name, it would be like a string, and maybe I limit it to a certain amount. And all of that is what would be defined in the data contract. And it follows a pretty standard JSON structure.
JSON schema.
Yeah. JSON schema. Yeah.
Okay, so say if I'm a developer, I'm just coming to access the DAPI for the first time. What am I going to see?
Well, it depends on your application. If you're building an application to fight insurance fraud, maybe you would create a schema that represents an insurance claim and then all the attributes that are related to that claim. And you're not saving any of that data because all of that would be saved by users of your application. I guess for a developer that is creating a data contract and integrating it with the platform, the closest thing to saving it would be registering the contract, so that the platform knows that anytime someone is submitting data through your application, it knows to validate it based on the rules in your contract.
Perfect. You have to excuse me. I'm not very technical when it comes to that stuff. So sometimes I ask pretty basic questions. So bear with me.
No, they're great. I mean, these are the questions that we need to answer.
All right. So you guys did a presentation at the Dash Convention Europe. I watched that and I put it into parts and did my own video on it to explain the basic concepts. Dana, you mentioned during the presentation that a developer could access historical data on the data contract. Could you expand a bit on that?
Yeah, so on the platform chain, there's going to be a similar convention to the core chain, the main chain, where blocks will contain state transitions, and those state transitions will be linked in a chronological order. So if for whatever reason you needed to revert your data to a previous point in time, there will be a record of that change. Similar, like an analogy could be to Git, like version control. Yeah, so in use cases where auditability of records or auditability of data is important, you will be able to look back historically and see what changes have been made.
Okay, so hold on a second. You're saying, like, from my point of view, I'm saying, like, okay, I have an operating system, I use Windows. Are you saying that, like, each block essentially becomes like a system restore for my data?
May I answer?
Yes, please jump in.
Stop laughing at my eyeliner.
Basically,
sorry, I made you lose your train of thought.
So
Go
basically,
on,
your data. Okay, so basically, in the data contract, you can specify what documents you want to have versioned. So because storing versions for documents, it's increase your fees, right? Because someone needs to pay for this data, right? And the user who will store this data will pay for that. So for the normal documents, we're gonna store only the last version of this document, like the actual version.
Okay.
But if you're interested in the previous revisions of this data, you can specify that this document must be versioned. And in this case, we store all it's kind of divs between these transitions of data from version to version. So we store divs and for this document type, and users will be able to fetch not just the document back from DAPI, but the versions as well. I know it's something like in Google Docs, you can see the revisions, right, of the document and see the previous versions. So it will work the same way.
Okay.
Yeah, less of a system restore, more, of just a change log.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more about. Excuse me.
So you could say that the driving engine behind all of this is going to be the platform chain, the new side chain that's going to exist alongside the Dash blockchain. I would like to get into that a little bit more here. What is the specific relationship between the platform chain and the decentralized storage? Like, how is that going to work behind the scenes?
Platform chain is I would say it's a replication mechanism, state replication mechanism. So people are put transactions in the chain, and we mine the blocks and decide about the order of the transactions in the blocks, and also about validity of these transactions. And when they have this block, we propagate this information among master nodes. So they will be able to apply the state transitions by one on state. So basically, each state transition, it's how we want to change the state, platform state, from one point to another point. So you want to create new documents, or you want to update some specific document and change some fields. I don't know, from Dana to awesome Dana or something like this. And
Dana is always awesome.
Stop! I'm blushing.
Stop. Yeah, and what else? Yeah, so the idea of this chain is to get agreement among master nodes about validity of the state transitions and order of the state transitions, and propagate this information among all nodes. So when we reply these blocks, we can apply the state to these operations to the decentralized storage. So we say, okay, in this state transition, we want to create this document. So we create document in decentralized storage. And we want to update some document or delete it. So we just replaying this state transitions and do changes in state in decentralized storage.
So am I correct in understanding that everything that you do in Dash platform has to go through platform chain?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have platform state and platform chain. Platform state is basically stored in this decentralized storage.
Okay.
And the idea of platform chain is to update in secure manner this platform state.
Okay. So I have a two-parter question coming up. How fast is the platform chain forecast on being? What kind of block times are you looking at for platform chain?
For Ethernet release, like for the phase 0, I don't know exact number right now, so it will be just like a second, I don't know, like six or 8 seconds.
Okay.
And later we're gonna optimize consensus algorithm and utilize our LLMQs for that. And in this case, I hope block time will be smaller, but I think not less than 3 seconds. So it's some technical limit what we have.
Okay.
Because of latency and block propagation.
Okay, so the fact that the master nodes are going to handle platform chain on their own leads to some advantages and some potential disadvantages that I'm sure you guys are working to mitigate. Can you list the reasons why using the main Dash blockchain is not beneficial for Dash platform?
Oh yeah, we did it recently in the blog post, right? So yeah, first of all, it's inefficient resource usage, because if we use existing chain, we need to propagate the state transitions, what I described before, on all nodes. like all full nodes, but they really need it only on master nodes where we store this platform state, right? So it's additional network load and disk in disk space on full nodes. Also, it's additional transactions in a chain. So it won't be not just payment, but also this platform transactions, which might be kind of fluid in some way, the chain. We all know this example, these are crypto kittens, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
One other, like an important business consideration as well is non-deterministic fees. So within, if we put everything on the main chain, then we would have to pay a fee to miners, which is difficult to predict. But by putting everything on the platform chain, fees become deterministic, and that allows businesses to forecast and estimate the costs of saving data on the platform.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, it makes sense from a financial standpoint. So like if you guys were to try to put it on the main Dash blockchain, like say for example, I'm using an application and I put in my name and I hit enter, like would I have to wait for 2.5 minutes before that to process?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like the biggest real reason right there. Like that's like totally a bad user experience when it comes to centralized applications. So yeah, I can see that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, block time, and also there are more actually technical reasons, like light client verification logic, also like architecture. Then you separate that layer into layers and have kind of clean architecture. Then you your layers, architecture layers, communicating only in the one direction. I mean, then like layer 1 doesn't know about layer 2, and only layer 2 is consumer of layer 1. In this case, only one way direction, right? And in this case, you can build more secure and more safe systems.
Is there going to be something similar to Sporks for platform chain, like for doing upgrades?
Yes, there will be. I mean, we're calling them feature flags, but it's essentially a way for us to introduce new functionality without breaking the platform and giving without hard forks and giving users time to upgrade to the new versions that we're introducing.
Okay, I have a couple of questions coming up about proof of service. Could you expand a little bit more on how proof of service is going to work on the masternode network?
Yeah, sure. So do you familiar with proof of service on existing chain?
Well, I'm going to assume that my viewers don't know anything about it, so I just want to get into it.
Right. I completely forgot there's someone else here. Okay. Okay, so we have proof of service already on our base chain. So when we use it in LLMQ, long-living masternode quorums, when we create these quorums during this DKG session, like distribute key generation session, we are waiting of participation of different masternodes. So if some of them do not participate, we kind of in the work we have a scoring system, and we increment like scores of the misbehavior for these masternodes. And if someone reached this threshold, it will be just banned.
Okay.
Like punished. So basically, proof of service for platform will work in the same way. So probably during the consensus and block execution part, like some validator did not vote for the block, or double sign it, or something else, propose the wrong transactions. In this case, we can see all these evidences on platform chain. And according to these evidences, we can increment scores. And then the pretty big long-living masternode quorum, like for 100 nodes, will decide if this master node reached the threshold, we ask like we ask payment chain to bind this master node.
Okay. Oh, you asked the payment chain to ban the master node. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that one.
No, because master nodes implemented in the payment chain, right?
Yeah, that's true. So master nodes will be in both chains. So yeah, so if it's banned from one, it's banned from the other. That's a question that I didn't even get to. That's pretty cool that you bring that up. Is that true? Is that what's going to happen?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So they're banned from both chains.
They have two separate proof of services for layer 1 and layer 2, for existing chain and platform. And if you don't participate on the work for layer 1, you will be banned. And the same for platform.
Okay, so all master nodes better shape up on both chains or they're out.
I mean, it's not difficult to participate. We don't gonna ban you for not participating because of latency or network losses or something like this. The system will be pretty smart, and we're gonna punish only in a critical situation. Then it's pretty obvious that you acting as Byzantine, or trying to fake some data or something like this.
Okay, as I was watching your presentation at Dash Convention Europe, as I was watching this presentation, there was one thing that stuck out at me, and I think you'll like this question. So you mentioned that platform chain is going to be using masternode quorums to perform functions. It's my understanding that masternode quorums are selected via proof of work hashes. Since there are no minors in platform chain's proof of service structure, how will quorums be selected?
Oh, we're going to utilize payment chain quorums. So LMQs. So right now we have LMQ for chain lock, right? For instance send. So basically we will introduce a new type of LMQ, and as previously in the block commit, when after DCG session, they will create a block commit transaction. And we can use this information for platform in order to select validators and assign them to LMQ nodes.
Okay, so there are subtypes of communication between platform and main chain, just not totally directly.
Yeah. So platform knows about the features of the existing chain, and we're gonna use them. I mean, it's it makes sense to utilize the things what we built for evolution, like LMQs, for example. And we are not going to re-implement this logic for the platform. We don't need it because we already have it on the platform. So yeah, platform will use LMQs and other features like DKG and so on of the existing chain.
Okay, is there going to be any worries about, since they're communicating a little bit, is there going to be any worries about the larger block time in the proof of work chain when it comes to selecting block hashes or just hashes for quorums in the platform chain?
Oh, no, it shouldn't be a problem. It's easy mitigate. These are taken blocks, this modular, and have some delay. So no problems here.
Perfect. All right, so my next follow-up question to that is, as platform chain and Dash blockchain do not directly communicate, services performed on one chain would not seem to be recognized by the other chain. So knowing that, how are hosting and other fees going to be paid out to the masternodes for services performed on the platform chain? How are they going to get paid out on the main chain?
Oh, so interesting question. So yeah, so credit system for the platform will be basically implemented on only on layer 2. So payment chain doesn't know about that at all. So how it will work? It's not. It's just a concept. It's not approved yet completely. But probably I can share it, right, Dana?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Oh, so great. Exclusive.
So basically, if you wanted to top up credits for some specific identity in order to pay for platform usage, you kind of log some amount of dash on the payment chain and use this log as the proof, as evidence on the layer 2 in the platform. So, and actually, you said that chains not communicating directly with each other. It's not true, because they communicating, but platform chain can read payment chain, but not vice versa. So it's like one direction way. So we can prove that this log exists and made by this some public key, and we provide evidence of that on the platform chain, and mean some credits. So then when you pay fees for state transition, so basically you pay for usage of the platform, these keys, these credits will be distributed among master nodes, and then master nodes will be able to withdraw back these credits into Dash. So we'll have some unlock transaction. So we will have kind of pool of locked Dash on payment chain. We don't gonna mint new Dash. So it's just some reserve. So, and we just take, when on unlock transaction, we just take some Dash from this pool.
Okay, could you go into a little bit more detail about that? Like, where's this Dash going to be coming from?
No, this Dash is just locked on some output. So we can just use this output in unlock transaction.
Okay, yeah, I understand that, but
so we are not creating new Dash. We just unlock the locked Dash.
Okay.
So the locked Dash can come from the fees that people are paying on the different applications within Dash platform. I mean, we're still finalizing the details of what we're referring to as like credit distribution.
Mm-hmm.
So how we distribute these rewards to masternode owners, and we will have an implementation of that in one of the later EvoNet phases, like either phase like 1 or 2, or depending on what terminology we use. And we also plan on releasing a spec that details the credit system in greater detail when we launch EvoNet at the end of the year.
Okay. So
yeah, I think Anton will write a post soon about that.
Yeah, Anton, one of the other Dash platform developers, is working very hard on this, and is going to be writing a blog post detailing this, in addition to a more technical like reference specification.
Yeah, because it's definitely an issue that, not an issue, but like an aspect of platform chain that's it's hard to understand, because you've got your main proof of service, and okay, I'm a master node, I get payment from here, and I'm a miner, I get payment from here, but where is the proof of service stuff going to come from? Like, where's the platform chain stuff going to come from in the main chain? So it'd be interesting to see how you guys tackle that issue.
Yeah, and we have a lot of thoughts, and we've made a lot of progress on the challenge. I mean, balancing all of the constraints of designing this platform, fast user experience, deterministic fees, all these things resulted in the creation of the platform chain. And so I don't know, we just have some work left to do in figuring out the finer details.
And actually, we missed some part in this question, I think. You asked, so currently, we use some payment queue, right, to pay master nodes from the miners. So this system will be the same, and master nodes will get additional payments for platform usage. That's how it's gonna work. And yeah, so basically we will transfer some credits. I mean, credits is a platform token, right? Some platform token. And users, when they pay for fee, he can transfer these credits to masternode account on platform chain, and then masternode will be able to withdraw these credits back to the Dash using this unlock transaction what I mentioned before.
Yeah, I understand how somebody would access it. I'm just not sure, and like I can't wrap my head around where this dash comes from in the beginning. You know, like if you're accruing fees on the platform chain, the main chain wouldn't seem to know about that. So
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah. So this dash actually that's user used to top up credits. So I'm user one, and I need some credits on the platform chain. So I lock my dash for that.
Oh,
So
okay, that makes more sense. So somebody comes in and locks dash, and that's the dash that's going to be used as the credits. So there is dash first. It's not just going to the chain and getting credits. Okay,
No.
that makes sense. Okay.
So this dash still always exists, and we just lock it, and we can unlock it with this withdraw transaction unlock. That's how it works.
Okay, yeah,
so basically
sense.
we don't burn dash and we don't mint it. And the amount of this dash, what we need to for this credits always the same. I mean, because you have like 1-to-1 ratio between credits and dash.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense now. Thanks. I'm glad that we came to that understanding before we finish the show. So is there anything, I'm going to give the floor to you guys. Is there anything else you'd like to explain about Dash Platform that I haven't covered in more detail?
Yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. The questions that we went through were pretty comprehensive. Yeah, I'd be curious if there's anything from the chat or if there's anything else that the community is.
Do you guys have access to the chat? I can't see it right now.
I had it open a second ago.
Yeah.
Dana, maybe you want to talk about launch partners?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to get into that, but we can do it now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. All good.
Yeah, so regarding launch partners, I've spoken to about 10 companies. I've also been working with the business development team, and they've been reaching out to different organizations as well. Some of those organizations are ecosystem collaborators, so people that would build tools to make using Dash Platform easier. And some of those organizations are businesses that are looking to store some of their data on the platform. And for the first phase of EvoNet, the functionality of the platform is going to be very limited. So these potential launch partners wouldn't be able to do too much other than experiment with state transitions and see how all of that works. Later on, when we're ready and a little bit closer to go on mainnet, I will be ramping up the whole launch partner effort and educating and working with these organizations on how the platform works, explaining the value to them, and also doing some like whiteboarding sessions to figure out how they can translate their use case to some sort of data storage on the platform. So in summary, the launch partnerships, they're happening. We're having those conversations, but the main work is a little bit on hold while we release more platform features.
So yeah, so it's kind of exciting. We're going to celebrate the launch of a new chain joining the Dash ecosystem. So it's going to be launching pretty soon. I hope we don't have an Instamine with that one.
Yeah, no, definitely won't be a problem.
You guys are going to test it more, aren't you?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So, sounds good.
I got 2 questions in the chat.
Yeah, by all means, take them.
Okay. So the first one, what is expected time for Evo to remain on testnet before activating on mainnet? I think we need to ask our product owner.
That was good. I was going to get ready to tackle that one. I think it really depends. I mean, we're obviously going to try and get to mainnet as fast as we can, but we're not going to compromise the security and stability of the network. So I would say sometime around early Q2. Again, though, it's very up in the air, and yeah, I'm sure that's not the satisfying answer that the user was looking for.
Yeah, I think a good answer here is we're gonna release information about evolution phases soon, and explain the all step what we need to go and until this point. And after that, we can talk about dates.
Yeah, and also like just piggybacking off on that, Bob Carroll will explain a little bit more about dates during the quarterly call.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to that quarterly call. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of information shared there as well.
Yeah.
Is there another question there?
Yeah. So it's about credits. Will be traded on exchange. No, I think it's no, credits is just token only for paying for platform usage. I mean, it's not supposed to be like trading token, but
the whole idea of the credit is that it's not even public facing. Like someone that will be using an application that's integrated with Dash platform will be paying for services using Dash. So they won't have like a credit wallet or anything like that. The concept of the credit just occurs behind the scenes. And it's just a mechanism that we're using to pay for and regulate the activities of the platform.
Yeah, but do you remember we discussed some cases when, for example, you want to pay for someone for state transitions, and probably you want to transfer some credits to your mom if she wants to create, something.
Yeah, there are definitely
so in this case, it will be a way to transfer credits between identities. So probably someone could do that. Who knows? Life is still a mystery.
Who knows what we could come up with in the future? But it sounds good. I know a lot of people in the community are in a rush to see this being developed, but at the same time, we have to understand that something like this has never been done before in a decentralized way. So it definitely it takes a lot behind the scenes to get going. So I wish you guys the best of luck in doing what you're doing there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And just to appease those people that might be in a rush, your best guess, when do you think EvoNet is going to be ready for us to peruse and try to use ourselves? And a follow-up question, are we going to be able to have a time where we can put our own identities in?
Yeah, so we're targeting the end of the year. The running joke has been whatever the international dateline is on December 31st at 11:59 p.m. Yeah, so I mean, we're definitely moving toward that goal. I mean, it's a little ambiguous if we'll be able to achieve everything by that date, but we are working very, very hard to do so. You will be able to create identities and play around with names, but those names and identities won't be fixed. The whole idea of EvoNet is that we will be able to drop data as we release new features, and that's one of the reasons that we created EvoNet as opposed to putting everything on testnet. We have some major ecosystem collaborators like Coinbase that are very active on testnet, and it wouldn't be acceptable to those collaborators to drop the data that we need to do for the new releases on the platform.
Okay, so it's people that want to establish their own identities on this new platform. We're going to have to wait until the actual main chain launches, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They would be able to establish some fake identities, and they would be able to use that identity and that name on the EvoNet testing environment. But in terms of that address or that identity and name being used to actually receive real Dash, that won't be possible until we go to mainnet.
Got it. Do you have anything else to add, Ivan, before I let you guys go? I'm sure you're very busy.
I don't know. I'm good.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Dana.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I mean, if anyone else has any other questions, I mean, I definitely want to, answer and address anything that comes up from the community. So yeah, email me, add questions in chat, tweet at the DashPay Twitter, and I will do my best to find a way to answer those questions.
Are you guys both on Twitter, or no? I just have to access through the DashPay.
I have a Twitter. I can receive and I will respond to it. I just don't use it very frequently.
Got it. How about you, Ivan?
Yeah, the same. Yeah, I didn't use Twitter for ages, and I mean, but you may find me in Discord channels. So there are several channels that I participating pretty actively. So I would love to answer to any questions and help.
Yeah, I think I speak for the Dash community where we would rather have you coding than tweeting.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
We feel similarly.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for coming on the show, guys. It was a pleasure having you on. I hope my viewers learned a little bit more about Dash Platform today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. My pleasure.
You're welcome. Ciao.
Bye.